Good morning, boys and girls, or afternoon if you're watching in the afternoon. We are going to be reading chapter 13 of Black Beauty today. So if you have your book, you can follow along. If you have the same version of the book as me, this begins on page 63. So I'm going to switch over to the screen for you to follow along. This is a chapter called The Devil's Trademark. So that might seem like a very strange title, but it's going to explain everything about it in the chapter. Now, the devil's trademark is referring to what is the devil really known for? And sadly, there are some things that people in this chapter do that really are evil. And so they're trademarks of the devil. So let's begin reading chapter 13. One day, when John and I had been out on some business of our master's, and were returning gently on a long straight road, at some distance, we saw a boy trying to leap a pony over a gate. The pony would not take the leap, and the boy cut him with the whip, but he only turned off on one side. Well, the pony cannot leap this. He's not choosing not to. He can't. The boy whipped him again, but the pony turned off on the other side. Then the boy got off and gave him a hard thrashing and knocked him about the head. Then he got up again and tried to make him leap the gate, kicking him all the time shamefully, but still the pony refused. So he is beating this pony up, and it's really for something that the pony can't help. The pony is not able to leap over this gate. When we were nearly at the spot, the pony put down his head and threw up his heels, and sent the boy neatly over into a broad quickset hedge, and with the rein dangling from his head, he set off home at a full gallop. Now, it serves this boy right, because this pony didn't deserve to be hit and beat for doing something it couldn't do. Now, John laughed out quite loud. "Served him right," he said. "Oh, oh, oh," cried the boy who was on the pony, as he struggled about among the thorns. "I say, come and help me out." "Thank ye," said John. "I think you are quite in the right place." "Wow, that's bold. And maybe a little scratching will teach you not to leap a pony over a gate that is too high for him." And so with that, John rode off. He says, "This is a lesson for you. You shouldn't do that." "It may be," said he to himself, "that young fellow is a liar as well as a cruel one. We'll just go home by Farmer Bushby's, Beauty, and then if anybody wants to know, you and I can tell them." You see, so we turned off to the right and soon came up to the stackyard and within sight of the house. The farmer was hurrying out into the road, and his wife was standing at the gate, looking very frightened. "Have you seen my boy?" said Mr. Bushby as we came up. "He went out an hour ago on my black pony, and the creature is just come back without a rider." Well, John knows what really happened. "I should think, sir," said John, "he had better be without a rider, unless he can be ridden properly." "What do you mean?" said the farmer. "Well, sir, I saw your son whipping and kicking and knocking that good little pony about shamefully, just because he would not leap a gate that was too high for him." "The pony behaved well, sir," John says, "and he showed no vice." Vice is a problem, like a moral character problem. "But at last, he just threw up his heels and tipped the young gentleman into the thorn hedge, similar to what we saw Merrylegs do with those little boys. Just tipped them off, didn't throw them off. "He wanted me to help him out," John continues, "but I hope you will excuse me, sir. I did not feel inclined to do so. There's no bones broken, sir. He'll only get a few scratches. Now, I love horses, and it riles me, which means it angers me, to see them badly used. It is a bad plan to aggravate an animal till he uses his heels." So he's saying, if the animal is starting to use their heels to kind of buck backwards, it's probably a problem with the rider, that they've made the animal get so angry. The first time is not always the last. So it's possibly going to ruin this pony, similar to how Ginger got irritated because people mistreated her. Now, during this time, the mother began to cry. Oh, my poor Bill. I must go and meet him. He must be hurt. He doesn't need help, does he, this boy Bill? You had better go into the housewife, said the farmer. Bill wants a lesson about this, and I must see that he gets it. This is not the first time, nor the second, that he has ill-used that pony, and I shall stop it. How many times has he beaten up this pony? At least 3 times. Do you think he deserved to have a lesson where he is hurting in the thorn bushes so that he doesn't do it again? I think so. John is not saying, he said there's not broken bones, he just is getting some scratches. Hopefully this will teach him a lesson. I am much obliged to you, Manley, which is John's last name. Good evening. So we went on, John chuckling all the way home. Then he told James about it, who laughed and said, serve him right. I knew that boy at school. He took great airs on himself because he was a farmer's son. Which might not sound that fancy, but a lot of farmers are quite wealthy, and at this time, he thought he was better than everybody else because he was a farmer's son. He used to swagger about, which is to kind of move his shoulders back in a way that he's really proud. And he would bully the little boys. That's sad. Now, of course, we elder ones would not have any of that nonsense and let him know that in the school, in the playgrounds, let him know that in the school and the playground, farmers' sons and laborers' sons were all alike. Now, a laborer is just someone who works, and this could include someone who is a blacksmith or a servant somewhere, or somebody who just does hard work, like John Manley. Now, a farmer is no better than those types of people, right? And James continues, I well remember one day, just before afternoon school, I found him at the large window. He was catching flies and pulling off their wings. I hope none of you would do that. That sounds gross, but also cruel, doesn't it? Now, some of you might use fly swatters at home. Do any of you use fly swatters? That's possibly something that you do. I do that occasionally. But taking the wings off, the only point of doing that is just to give that creature pain. That's really cruel to do that just to give it pain. Now, he did not see me, and I gave him a box on the ears that laid him sprawling on the floor. Well, angry as I was almost frightened. He roared and bellowed in such a style. So Bill got knocked over. A box in the ears is a hit in the ears. He's getting angry. The boys rushed in from the playground, and the master, which is the teacher, ran in from the road to see who was being murdered. That's how big of a fit Bill was making of this. He is getting so angry. Of course, I said fair and square at once what I had done and why. Then I showed the master all of those flies. Some were crushed and some crawling about helpless. And I showed him the wings on the windowsill. And I never saw him, the teacher, so angry before. But as Bill was still howling and whining like the coward that he was, he did not give him any more punishment of that kind, but set him up on a stool for the rest of the afternoon and said that he should not go out to play for that whole week. It's a harsh punishment. Do you think he deserved it? Now, some of you might be thinking, they're just flies. But he is doing something cruel to give somebody pain. And there's not any good reason for that at all. Then he talked to all the boys very seriously about cruelty. You know what cruelty is? It's not just being mean, it's a very extreme form of that. Cruelty is hurting someone like this, and he even enjoys hurting these creatures, these flies. And he also seemed to enjoy hurting that pony. And he said how hard-hearted and cowardly it was to hurt the weak. It's very true of him bullying the little boys too, right? And the helpless. But what stuck in my mind was this. He said that cruelty was the devil's own trademark. Remember, that's our chapter title. Now, the devil's trademark, it means that is true of the devil, that he wants and he enjoys things that are cruel and terrible. Now, if we saw anyone who took pleasure in cruelty, we might know who he belonged to. For the devil was a murderer from the beginning and a tormentor to the end. So for those of you who don't believe in devil, there might be within maybe the religion that you have at home something similar to this, that is the opposite of the good that God is. The devil is the opposite in every single way, enjoying things that are cruel and wanting people to do the wrong thing. So on the other hand, this is now saying God's characteristics rather than the devil's, where we saw people who loved their neighbors and were kind to man and beast, we might know that that was God's mark. So mark is love. The devil's mark is cruelty, especially if there's cruelty to people or creatures who are just weak and helpless. Your master never taught you a truer thing, said John. There is no religion of any type of religion without love. And people may talk as much as they like about their religion, but if it does not teach them to be good and kind to man and beast, it is all a sham, which means it's all fake. You probably don't truly believe in your religion if you are not kind and good and loving. He's saying you don't really have any of these true beliefs if you are not a good and kind and loving person to other people around you. It's all a sham, James, and it won't stand when things come to be turned inside out. So what is the devil's trademark? Cruelty. And what is God's trademark? Love. So if we see people around us who are doing things that are really cruel, and especially like to people who are younger, or the weak and helpless might be someone who is like in a wheelchair or really hurting. People are being cruel to those people especially. We want to be able to step in and let them know that they're doing the wrong thing, like John did when he saw Bill doing that to the pony, right? Stand up for what's right. So that is chapter 13 of Black Beauty, and you've got some notes to take, including a quote from the chapter that we just talked about. So I want you to do that when you're done watching this video. Hope you're enjoying the book so far, and I will talk to you later. Bye.